Sacha Vachai Namo Namaha. Vrindayagiki Tulsi Jai Priyayai Keshava Shacha Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Sacha Vachai Namo Namaha. Jai Tulsi Maharani ki Jai. We offer our most respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees, who could fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen, conditioned souls. Jai Manashikabha Kanubhyascha Kripasin Yudhyevacha Papadevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. The Prabhupada Lord. Okay. Okay, big crowd again. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunya Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihare Gopi Janabalaba Yidivadudade Gopi Janabalaba Yidivadudade Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachade Yamuna Tera Manachade Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janabalaba Hidibadadati Yusunanandada Rajajana Ranjana Yusunanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Manachagute Yamuna Tera Manachagute Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunabhigate Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunabhigate Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Acharya Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktavrana Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shridharidas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shiveta Gadadha Shivasri Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopidas Saya Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturadam Ki Jai Jagannatha Swami Ki Jai Mudamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari 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 Bol All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschachate Shatarni. So today we are reading from the 10th canto, 55th chapter, text 4. And actually we're going to read a few texts today, since this is pretty much descriptive and not so much philosophy. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tang Nirjagara Balavan Mina So Api Aparai Saha Rito Jalena Mahata Grihito Matsha Jivipihi Tam Nirjagara Balavan Minasokya Paraisaha Rito Jalena Mahata Grihito Macha GVP Tamnir Jagara Balaban Minasopya Parai Saha Rito Jalena Mahata Grihito Macha GVP Tam Nirjagara Balavan Minasopya Parai Saha Rito Jalena Mahata Grihito Macha GVP. Okay. Right? Tam him Nirjagara swallowed Balaban powerful Mina a fish Sa he the fish Api and Aparai others Sahab together with Vrita enveloped Jalena with a net Mahata huge Grihita seized Matsyajivapi by fishermen who gain their livelihood from fish. I thought that was interesting. Matsya GVB means those who live by fish. GV, live by fish. Anyway, fishermen. So translation, a powerful fish swallowed Prajuna. And this fish, along with others, was caught in a huge net and seized by fishermen. You can repeat. A powerful fish swallowed Prajuna. And this fish, along with others, was caught in a huge net and seized by fishermen. So there's no commentary by the followers of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, so I'm going to read the shorter commentaries of the Acharyas. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states, Prajuna was swallowed by a fish. This was by the desire of the Lord, who likes to perform a variety of pastimes. The fish was not stronger than Prajuna. In other words, he didn't die. And then also the cooks cut the fish open with a big knife. That's no. Jiva Goswami. By the will of the Lord, Prajuna showed little powers at this time, so the fish was able to swallow him. Of course, if he showed his full powers, being Vishnu, Tattva, the fish wouldn't have been able to do anything. By exerting great energy, Balaban. But then the fish was caught in a huge net. The word api indicates that though the fish was strong, the net was able to catch it. And finally, Sanatana Goswami. By the will of the Lord, the fish was strong. The fish could actually swallow him into his stomach. That is indicated by the word api, or api indicates all that is described. Or although the fish was strong, it was caught with the other fish. This fish was a gift for Hillsborough. Otherwise, the fishermen would have eaten the fish. So, not too much for me to comment on in this particular verse. So we're going to read 5, 6, 7, 8 before we say anything. Atang Shambaraya Kaivarta Upajagru Rupayanam Sudamahana Samnitva Vajam Suditinad Bhutam. All right. The fishermen presented that extraordinary fish to Shambhara, who had his cooks bring it to the kitchen, where they began cutting it up with a butcher knife. Butcher knife. Actually, proper English would be a butcher's knife. So in Jiva Goswami, the words upajaguru and upanayanam, upayanam, not upanayanam. Upanayanam would be initiation. Upayanam mean the same thing. He gifted he gifted a gift. The words are used repetitively to indicate that the fish was given because it was special, huge, and astonishing. Because Mayavati was the head cook, the fish was offered to her. But she was actually Rati, Kamadeva's wife, disguised by her magical powers. And Sanatana Goswami states, the fish was immediately given to Shambhara to enjoy. It was outstanding by being bigger than other fish. Very short commentaries. Next text, text 6. Drishra tadudare balam ayavachai yavedayan narido katayat sarvam tasya shankita chetasa malasya tattvam utpattim matshodara niveshanam. Seeing a male child in the belly of a fish, the cooks gave the infant to Mayavati, who was astonished. Narada Muni then appeared and explained to her everything about the child's birth and his entering the fish's abdomen. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that Narada told her this child was Kamadeva, Mayavati's husband. And Jiva Goswami states, Mayavati was alarmed. Shankita Chita saw, this child is most beautiful and looks like my husband. Why was he born from a fish? If he was actually born somewhere else, why did he not die within the fish? He must be some Devata, or my husband. Narada told her everything, the reason why he had entered the belly of the fish. Sridhar Swami explains that he said the truth. He is Kamadeva, your husband. He was born from Krishna and Rukmini. This would mean that her husband was the third member of the Chaturvyuha. He was like the ray of the sun, a vibhuti of Prajuna merged in him. Narada spoke in this way to relieve Mayavati of lamentation and bring about a meeting with Prajuna. She then worshipped Prajuna as being non-different from her husband, did not break her vow, in a manner similar to the gopis desiring Krishna as their husband. Prajuna also, like a touchstone, made her qualified and then accepted her. She became the mother of Aniruddha and acted as Prajuna's direct Shakti. And I am going to read text 7 and 8, and that's it. Sacha kamasya vai patni ratir nama yashashvini pachur dagda dehasya dehotpatim patikshati nirupata sambarena sa sudaudan sajjane kamadevam shisham bhutva chakre sneham tadarbake. Mayavati was in fact Cupid's renowned wife, Rati. While waiting for her husband to obtain a new body, his previous one having been burnt up, she had been assigned by Shambhara to prepare vegetables and rice. Mayavati understood that this infant was actually Kamadeva, and thus she began to feel love for him. So, Srila Vishwanath actually there's a purport to this by the followers of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this story as follows. When Cupid's body was burned to ashes, Rati worshipped Lord Shiva to obtain another body for Cupid. Shambhara, having also come to Shiva for a benediction, was recognized by the Lord first, who told him, "You should now ask for your benediction." Shambhara, struck with lust at seeing Rati, replied that he wanted her as his benediction, and Shiva complied. Lord Shiva then consoled the sobbing Rati, telling her, "Go with him, and in his very home you will attain what you desire." Thereupon Rati bewildered Shambhara with her deluding power, and taking the name Mayavati, remained in his house untouched. In other words, he never had the conjugal relationship with her. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, much of Purana explains why Mayavati was waiting for Kamadeva to take a new body. When Kamadeva was burnt to ashes by Shiva, his wife, Rati worshipped Shiva so they could get a new body. And actually, this is the same thing. So Rati then bewildered Shambhara, remained in his house with the name Mayavati without being touched by him. Same thing. And Jiva Goswami pretty much says similar things, but there's more to his commentary. This is a story in the Macha Purana. I'm going to skip the part of the first paragraph here. She was renowned Yashashvini since she prepared vegetables in his house in order to attain her husband. Narada speaks to Rukmini in the Vishnu Purana. So this is the conversation between Narada and Rukmini. This chaste Mayavati is the wife of your son. She is not the wife of Shambhara. Please listen to the reason. When Kamadeva was destroyed, she desired that he appear again. She bewildered Shambhara by her illusory powers. She became most beautiful. She showed the demon a beautiful form made of Maya for his enjoyment and recreation. Harivamsa tells a similar story. She became chief cook for preparing rice and soups. Vishnu Purana says, Karayam asa sudanam adipatyam anindata. She was made the chief cook and was not criticized. She began to act with affection for Prajuna. Harivamsa says that she gave him nurses. Rasaya no payogascha shigram eva vyavardayat. He grew quickly by the use of special medicines, by the power of her illusion. Shambhara could not understand that a child was present. Instead of tada, sometimes sada is seen. And Sanatan Goswami, this is a long commentary here. The word cha means but. This distinguishes her from Shambhara. Vai means well known. She was well known as Cupid's wife. Thus she was not the wife of Shambhara. That's a lot here. His Atma was not burned, but his body was burned up completely. Thus he still resides in everyone's heart at all times. Oh my God. She waited for him to reappear, living in Shambhara's house by the mercy of Narada or Shiva, or by the power of her knowledge as a devata she could understand, since she was famous. She just cooked the soup and rice, since these are always the most excellent part of the meal. In other words, she was a vegetarian cook, even though she was in the kitchen. That's a really important point. Or these items indicate other items as well. She's qualified for cooking all things. Vishnu Purana says, I'll skip this answer. She was made the chief cook and not criticized. Though Parashara says that she was Shambhara's wife, it is understood she had no intimate relationships. And elsewhere in the Vishnu Purana, this is actually the same quote we just read in the Harivamsa. Okay. So, enough of that. So, Om Gana Timidanda Shah Gananjana Shilakaya Chakshur Unmiritam Yena Tasmai Shigurve Namaha. And I just want to speak about one particular point that I found interesting. Of course, the whole story is quite interesting, how Krishna arranged this amazing pastime for Cupid and Rati to get together again. But the amazing thing is, to me, and this is very similar to many other stories in Krishna's pastimes, that Rati was not a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She was Cupid's wife and very attached in a conjugal way to Cupid. So here she is associating, you may say, well, she's associating with Cupid again. But actually, she's associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Cupid is just a vibhuti, or the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, Pradyumna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's part of the Chaturvyu expansion, Vasudeva Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. So what happens here is that her attraction for her husband leads her to become purified. In other words, as the Bhagavatam states, akama, savakama, mokshakama, dharati, tivrena, bhakti yogena, yajeta purusham param. That leads her to become purified by coming in contact with Pradyumna. This is quite interesting. Although she didn't have that intention of becoming completely purified, still she became completely purified. And we find many stories that illustrate this same point. Not only conjugal stories, of course the conjugal stories like the gopis who were not quite purified, who became attracted to Krishna in, a mixed sense, like Kubja, for example. They became completely purified. But other stories of how people had no intention of becoming completely purified, but by coming in contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in one of his manifestations. My favorite story is the story of Valmiki, where Valmiki, previously his name was Ratnagara, and he was a dacoit, where, I guess actually we tell a summary of the story. Valmiki was robbing people. That's what a dacoit means. He was robbing people on the road, and one time the Saptarishis came, and he stopped the Saptarishis. Saptarishis means the 7 sages. And they said to him, after he said, please give me your money, and they said, we have no money. They said to him, don't you understand this is bad karma? And he said, I understand, but this is basically what I do for a living. I have to make a living. So he said, I have to maintain my family, my wife, my children, etc., like that. So they said, well, if you're so devoted to your wife and children, they must reciprocate that devotion and be ready to accept part of the karma. So he says, of course. And then they say, go back and ask them. So he goes back and asks his wife and family. And basically, they say no. not going to get to what each one said. And he comes back to the Saptarishis and says, what should I do? I got all this karma. My wife and family don't love me really. I'm not interested in maintaining them anymore. How do I get rid of the karma? So this is intention, getting rid of the karma. So they say, chant Ram's name, and he says, I can't chant Ram's name. And then, of course, they give him this other mantra, Mara, and he begins to chant Mara, 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 Mara. And he, by trick, is chanting Ram's name. And he has no intention of becoming a pure devotee. His intention is just, let me get out of this karmic reaction that I'm suffering or going to suffer from. And so he becomes a pure devotee. And in the case of Magrari, similar thing happened. You know, that he was just worried about his reaction, which Narada Muni showed him a coming attraction of that reaction. And then he started chanting, and he became a pure devotee. Or Haridas Thakur, and the prostitute, who became a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I was just listening to a story of how Narada Muni became a pure devotee. He had no intention of becoming a pure devotee. This is a story of association, and Prabhupada was giving this class. But during the 4 months of the rainy season, which are called Chaturmash period, the sages would not travel because it was impossible at that time for sages to travel. There were no like paved roads or drainage or anything like that. So, of course, nowadays it rains quite a bit too. In certain places, like Mayapur floods, and sometimes in North Carolina floods, Florida floods. So in any case, the sages remained in one place, and that place happened to be where Narada Muni was living with his mother. And Narada Muni, of course, was the son of a dasi, or a maidservant. And he did not even know who his father was, and his mother didn't know who his father was. And so Narada Muni served the sages. It wasn't planned out. He didn't have any intention in the beginning. It was the arrangement by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he began to serve the sages, and by serving the sages, he became gradually interested in Krishna consciousness, and he took the remnants of their prasadam, excuse me, he took the remnants of their prasadam one time, just with their permission. Actually, Prabhupada said you can take even without permission. And he took initiation from them, all within 4 months of the rainy season. And then after the sages left, after Chaturmasha was over, then pretty quickly after that, Narada Muni's mother died. And you may say, oh my God, is that unfortunate? But actually, it was arranged by Krishna, so Narada Muni, Narada Muni's shelter, he wasn't named Narada Muni at that particular point, but Narada Muni's shelter in this world was taken away from him. And we, of course, find this verse, Yashaham Anugrinami Harishe Taddanam Shanai. For those who I especially, don't get frightened by this, for those who I especially favor, then I take away things in their friends and relatives, reject them. In Narada Muni's case, he had no friends or relatives, and they're only left with Krishna consciousness. So, and then Narada Muni takes up Krishna consciousness, wanders around. In next birth, like the thunder and lightning, he takes the body of Narada Muni. So the point I'm making is the Vedic literatures are filled with stories of how people, whether they have the intention or don't have the intention, get association with the Supreme Personality of God, usually through the devotees of the Lord, which is the most important aspect, the most important process for becoming Krishna conscious, as described by Jada Bharat in the Bhagavatam, to King Rahugana. Rahuganai tat tapasa nayati nachesya nirvara grahadva the chandasa naiva jaladi suryar abhina mahad hara vajobhishekam. He addresses King Rahugana. Rahuganai tat, you are not going to achieve spiritual advancement, perfection, tapasa, by executing austerity, the yati, by becoming renounced or becoming a sannyasi, nor by following all the rules and regulations of being a good grahasta, nor by putting yourself, by putting yourself in ice in the middle of the winter, or fire in the middle of the summer, Jalagni Suryar. Only by the association, he literally says, by taking a Rajobhishekam, by taking the dust of the feet of a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the secret in becoming Krishna conscious. And that's how people join the Krishna consciousness movement. And as I mentioned many times before, that was my experience when I was listening to the radio, and all of a sudden I heard Prabhupada chanting. And hearing Prabhupada chanting, it changed my life. Brahmanda Brahmatai, Konna Bhagawan, Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Bhakti Lata Bij. Somehow or other I got the Bhakti Lata Bij through the radio, through Prabhupada chanting on the radio. So the point I'm making is this is what happened with Rati, that she became qualified, a pure devotee, and actually married to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in spite of having a lusty intention. So I wanted to speak about today. So anybody have any questions? Questions? Comments? Yes. That was Yogamaya. Yeah. She asked a question about Kaikeyi in Ram's pastimes. That Kaikeyi, of course, instigated Ram in going in exile to the forest. And was she actually in Maya or in Yogamaya? It was a Yogamaya. Because Ram arranged for this in his pastimes, or Krishna arranged for this in Ram's pastimes. So any other questions? Yes. Yeah. Very good. Is it predetermined? Prabhupada said he has created our good fortune. Now, of course, we understand that by the mercy of Krishna, one gets guru or one gets association. So it's not accidental. It's not accidental, but it's up to us to take that or not take that association. Like somehow or other, I heard Prabhupada chanting on the radio, or Prabhupada's voice, because Krishna arranged it. So somehow or other, I was ready for it. And so the second part of your question, whether it's predetermined, the whole question of predetermination in general is an interesting question. You know, do we have free will, or do we have or is everything predetermined? We have free will. However, Krishna knows which way we're going to exercise our free will. So you may term that as a type of predetermination, but it's not really. We choose. And Krishna in the Gita says, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything in the past, everything in the present, and everything in the future. Everything means everything. So he knows which way we're going to choose. So the second part of your question is, how do we become instrumental in our devotional service so we can give others that association? That requires very, very strict sadhana, but not only sadhana performed ritualistically, like we were hearing yesterday how the Goswamis, their sadhana was like lines on a stone. Not only just like very strict ritualistically, but it has to be from the heart. Devotional service, according to Lord Kapiladeva, is performed with the subtle body. Of course, we perform devotional service too with our, obviously, gross body. But Krishna says in the Gita, famous verse, Yome Bhakta Prayashati. So you offer to Krishna a leaf, a fruit, a little water, but it has to be done with devotion. So there has to be an action or a mood from the heart that I want to please Krishna while you're doing it. Otherwise, it's niyam agraha. Niyam agraha means basically doing something ritualistically. So, yat karoshi yadashnasi yajahoshi dadasya yat pashusi kontia tat gurishar madarpanam. So everything has to be done as an act of worship or an act of love. So if we do that, we follow strictly, we hear regularly from His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and we serve the other Vaishnavas, then we'll be empowered. So, other questions or comments? Yes. We have to be empowered. Kali Kalera Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtan Krishna Shakti Naha Taripavartana. That this age of Kali Kalera Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtan. Krishna Nama Sankirtan is the Yuga Dharma. Krishna Shakti Vidhan Nahe Taripavartana. But one has to be empowered. Without this empowerment, it doesn't work. So we can also be empowered. So even though we may not be pure devotees at this particular juncture, hopefully in the future that will occur, we can be empowered by our spiritual master. And it requires sincerity, dedication, love, etc. All right? Then you can act. Yes, Jadurani. Yeah. Krishna. Right. The free will is always there. Yeah. Well, to make the attempt to desire. Desire. Well, you could say that, but it's one's choice always. It's not that Krishna is going to give us mercy by dragging us kicking and screaming to his lotus feet. He gives us the opportunity, offers us something. Just like sometimes we're during the ceremony, I was offered a lot of food. And certain things I just didn't desire to take. So Krishna is offering us, that's the mercy. And then it's up to us. And we have to make that, I wouldn't say endeavor, it's something from the heart. Otherwise, you could say mercy. Well, it's just mercy, I wanted to be Krishna conscious. No, you wanted to be Krishna. You get some credit for it. Otherwise, everyone would be Krishna conscious. Right? Mercy. Oh, here's Prabhupada's mercy. Okay, Prabhupada's books. But some of you choose to read Prabhupada's books, and some of you don't choose to read Prabhupada's books. Some of you choose to get up in the morning, some of you don't choose to get up in the morning. Some of you choose to chant your rounds with attention, and some of you don't. That's up to you. Up to the individual. Okay, time to go. All glory is to His divine. Adi Purusham Tamaha. Om Vishnu Pataya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Samengiti Namade Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Bacha, Nekindivasesha, Shunyavadi, Asachagati, Satarande. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ati Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Kanana Radha Kanana Jaya Radha Kanana Radha Kanana Radha Hey Rade Nayarante Nayarante Nayarat Hey Rade Nayarante Nayarante. Jai Om
Jai.
Jai.
Jaitodar Paramarjanam Bhavahadava
Vagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Harivam Nandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pradipanam Gunamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahudan Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Niyamita Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjanina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Charorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamae Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Karam Patitam Mam Vishamevavam Buddha Kripayata Vabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashim Vachintaya Nayanam Gadadashu Daraya Varanam Gad Gadurudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vabhukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishyavapadam Ratam Panastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatatava Vidadatu Lampato Mat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, void of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of death. Please lift me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end? Investigation of your name. Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering your moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me heartened by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always our worshipful Lord unconditionally. Sri Shaska Ki Jai. Let's keep Santosh Prabhu in our prayers because he had a bad accident in the kitchen yesterday.